Welcome into this week's episode of Takedown City. We are sponsored by BetMGM, and we're here to talk about Saturday's UFC Vegas 60, headlined by a key matchup in the bantamweight division. It is Corey Sandhagen and Song Yadong. Of course, as always, I am joined by the fighter Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, wasn't with you last Saturday. Had a great night of fights. My guy Juicy J going out there as an underdog, go out there getting a win. Of course, we had all the craziness of last Friday. One of the craziest fight weeks we've had in a while. Not the craziest, one of the craziest.
Yeah, it was wild. Complete shuffle of the card, and the UFC did a pretty good job at handling the situation, and having multiple fighters close in the weight proximity, it really helped out. So I thought the card turned out to be what it should have been all along. You had two veterans and staples within the sport of Tony Ferguson and Nate Diaz going up against each other. You have Khamzat Chimaev getting tested by, not a prospect, but a very exciting fighter in Kevin Holland, who has plenty of potential within the division. So I really thought that it was, a great card and great changes throughout. So looking forward to another UFC card here. And we got a nice little headliner between Corey Sandhagen and Song Yadong.
I really like these top three fights on this card. I think these top three fights are really good. I do think there are some angles on the betting side for us to break down there. Of course, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. That really does help us out a ton. If you're not subscribed to Odd Chopper, you got to hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you know when a video has been posted here on the channel. We got shows for you each and every day, breaking down the betting side of sports. But P, let's get right into the first fight of the main card. We got Anthony Hernandez taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. Marc-Andre Barriault, the slight betting underdog in this one at plus 145. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez minus 175. Hernandez enters this fight. He's won back-to-back fights. He's coming off a decision win back in April, getting that win against Josh Frem. One of my notes on the Anthony Hernandez side of this equation is that takedown up and submission upside for him. Now, Marc-Andre Barriault is coming off a first-round submission win against Jordan Wright. He is now 3-1 with one no contest in his last five fights after he started 0-3 in the UFC. But to me, I'm liking the takedown submission upside here of Anthony Hernandez.
Yeah, I like the fight. I really do like the fight, and it's interesting because Anthony Hernandez has always been a fighter that I've circled because I thought he has plenty of offensive potential. It's just every now and then he's kind of made mistakes in the defensive department, and Kevin Holland capitalized, Marcus Perez capitalized, but you did see the glimmers of potential against Jung Young Park with the Anaconda finish, Rodolfo Vieira submitting one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in MMA, and just having a nice decisive victory over Josh Fremd. And Marc-Andre Barriault, had a skid as well within his first couple fights, as you mentioned, but has really turned a corner. I don't think that the level of competition is at the same level of Anthony Hernandez. I think Hernandez has fought just a little bit tougher competition inside the UFC. It's close, but I do think that the grappling of Anthony Hernandez could be the difference maker here. I think it'll be competitive on the feet. Both of them have pretty good strikes. Andre Barriault tends to get off a little slow and then work his way into the fight as it goes on. So if you have a cardio deficiency, he's going to really exploit that. I don't really think that's going to happen. I think the grappling of Anthony Hernandez can pin Marc-Andre Barriault against the cage en route to a decisive victory. So yes, he could grab a submission, and I think the submission line's nice, but I actually think that Anthony Hernandez is going to win via decision. That's kind of how I'm projecting this fight to go. Do you agree with me?
I like Anthony Hernandez to win this matchup. The prop bet that stuck out to me on Anthony Hernandez in this one is that submission prop at plus 250. But look, I like what you're saying there in terms of Anthony Hernandez winning this fight via decision. I think he's a great parlay piece this week.
Yeah, so I do think that this card, I say it often, but this seems like a volatile card where you think you have a good read on a lot of these fights and they should go one way or another, but it's some untrustworthy candidates scattered throughout it, right? Like a lot of Dana White's Contender Series alums, a lot of fighters that have had losses and have looked great in their wins, but bad in their losses. So it all comes down to Saturday night. How are they going to perform? I'm going to be very selective with how I parlay. But I don't hate it. I can just see like on any given day that this is, like a 60-40 fight. I'm still favoring Anthony Hernandez. Like I said, I like him to be the better minute winner in this fight. So I'm going to be targeting Anthony Hernandez to win via decision, sitting at plus 200.
I'll mention a 3-fighter parlay I like here in a little bit when we get to the other 2 legs of that parlay that I do like here. Let's move over to the next matchup. That'll be a heavyweight matchup between Tanner Boser and Rodrigo Nascimento. Nascimento, the betting underdog here at plus 140. Tanner Boser is your favorite here at minus 165. Nascimento does have a 4.5 reach advantage in this one. This will be his first fight in 14 months. The reason he's had that delay is that he failed his drug test in his previous fight. That was initially a TKO win there against Alan Boudreaux. Nascimento, this is like a tale of 2 different fighters here, Pete, where Nascimento has never gone the distance. He's never even seen the 3rd round. 7 of his 10 fights have been in the 1st round. However, for Tanner Boser, 14 of his 29 pro fights have gone to decision, which is kind of a rare stat in the heavyweight division. This is the first fight for Tanner Boser in 15 months. His last fight was a 2nd round victory against OSP, and he is durability, I think, is a word that would describe Tanner Boser. He's only been knocked out once in his career. That was back in 2015, a 6-second knockout loss against Tim Hague there in the Canadian scene. Tanner Boser is actually one of my favorite plays this week.
Yeah. So as far as like parlay piece, Tanner Boser is going to be a part of that. Now, when it comes to women's MMA and heavyweight MMA, you have to put some respect on the underdogs. You really do. And Chris Barnett is, a perfect example of what happens if you count out an underdog. And man, he looked really good last week against Jake Collier, but early on he looked terrible because Jake Collier emptied the gas tank and was near very, very close to finishing the fight. You could make an argument that it should have been finished, but regardless, he came out in round 2 with a gassed Jake Collier and took advantage of it and then ended up finishing the fight himself. So in heavyweight MMA, there's a lot of variance similar to women's MMA. So I'm always going to be careful. I do think that styles make fights, of course. And I think Rodrigo Nascimento's in for a tough one here just because of Tanner Boser's skill set. Everybody wants to take Tanner Boser down because he's pretty skilled on the feet, has decent volume, very selective, kind of sniper-esque on the feet, good hands, good leg kicks. And up until recently, he was just known as a decision guy. He'd go to the decision, be pretty dominant in the decision, but wasn't a finisher. And I don't know what it is, man, but he's touching people on the chin and they're going down. And he's really found that knockout potential. And I really like him here. Now, Rodrigo's Nascimento's best path to victory is clearly take Tanner Boser down where he is not dangerous. Try to win minutes and just kind of stall out and solidify rounds with takedowns. I think Nascimento on the feet can do okay offensively. It's just defensively, I think that he's going to get pieced up, similar to how Chris Daukaus pieced him up. So I really like Tanner Boser here. He's one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Of course, I'll be very careful, but as far as top to bottom on this fight card, I think Tanner Boser is going to be a popular play. Minus 165, I'm kind of shocked that he's not a bigger favorite just because of his wealth of experience and vast strength of schedule. So it's either Tanner Boser via KO or via decision. And I can make an argument for both. I actually think that Nascimento not being full 15 minutes and kind of just being known as a finisher lies more in Tanner Boser winning via TKO KO, sitting there at plus 125.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to chase that decision prop, plus 350 for Tanner Boser to win via decision. But I like you. I think that TKO KO prop is the way to go here for Tanner Boser. Tanner Boser is the second leg of my 3-fighter parlay. Right. I just really love him in this position. Just like you, when I saw the betting line on this one, I thought he was going to be at least a 2-1 betting favorite.
Yeah.
Now,
Agreed.
I think this is one of those equations where I think you hit on this line now. Don't wait till Saturday, because I think that this line will continue to grow as we do hit to Saturday afternoon with these fights in Las Vegas. But Tanner Boser, one of my favorite plays on this fight card. Of course, I appreciate everyone tuning in here for Takedown City. Of course, you got to check out our friends over at BetMGM. As bet $10, win $200 with BetMGM. If any team scores a touchdown, click the link in the video description below to claim your free $200 now. And of course, we want to make a wager on the fights. Take advantage of BetMGM and that free money they have for you right now. Click that link in the video description below. Let's move over to the next matchup, which we got the biggest betting favorite on this fight card, and it's a man making his UFC debut, Joe Pyfer, a minus 500 betting favorite, taking on Alan Amedovski, who is plus 350. Of course, Joe Pyfer kind of became the poster child of Dana White's Contender Series this year, as he was on week 1. He was the only guy to get a contract, only guy to go out there and get a stoppage victory. That fight took place in late July. Pyfer, he's a finisher. He's only gone to the distance once in his career. That was in his second pro fight, and all of his stoppage wins have come in the first or second round. Alan Amedovski, look, let's just be nice here. Things have not gone well for him. I'm trying to be nice here, Pete. 0-3 in the UFC. His last 2 fights have lasted a combined 1 minute and 18 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Pyfer has been like Dana White really is backing this guy and really liked what he brought to the table on his Dana White Contender Series performance. And it's kind of crazy that a Dana White Contender Series alum is going to be the biggest favorite on the slate. But I think it's attributed to how low level Alan Amedovski is. Outside of hitting really hard and having a puncher's chance, this is the equivalent to a layup. And I think Dana White and the UFC are kind of like, they're backing Joe Pyfer and thanking him for putting on a strong performance on Dana White Contender Series, and they're going to build him. So how do you get around that minus 500? Well, you could target it multiple ways. You can chase the KO, TKO. I also think that he could take him down and sub him pretty quickly. So with all that being said, I just think that Joe Pyfer winning inside the distance is the best thing to target, and it sits at minus 250. I don't know how I'm going to get away from that. I think that is just, it's not money in the bank, but I think he's a prolific finisher going up against a guy who's super low level. So I really do like him here to win inside the distance. So minus 250 sounds a little too cheap to me.
Yeah, Joe Pyfer would be the third fighter in my 3-fighter parlay, and I do want to chase that. I don't want to really go to that minus 500, so I do like him to win inside the distance here, minus 250. So for me, if I'm putting a 3-fighter parlay together, I'm going Anthony Hernandez, Tanner Boser on the money line, and then Joe Pyfer to win inside the distance with that 3-fighter parlay. I really, Joe Pyfer, look, I think there's one other fight on this card that I truly feel is a major showcase matchup. This is one of those fights where I just feel like it's a showcase matchup for Joe Pyfer. I see that look in your face. You're trying to figure out who I think the other one is.
Yeah, of course I am, and I can't wait to hear who it is.
I'll give you a hint. It's on the prelims.
Okay, I think I know who it is.
Who do you think it is?
Del Huber?
No.
Oh, Loma?
Nicholas Mata.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think that's a showcase fight there.
Okay. But yeah, I don't hate that parlay at all. I have a pretty similar parlay. It is including one of my favorite preliminary fighters on the card in Pat Sabatini, but I will talk about that further as we go on.
You know me, when we talk about the DFS side of the equation, I don't love the first fight of the night.
Yeah.
Motivate Cam's the first fight of the night.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy one for sure. And I'm pretty sure I was looking at the line. The under 2.5 seems like something that I would be smashing. Under 1.5 is a little tricky, but the under 2.5 is sitting at pretty good money. And I'm like, okay, I don't expect that to go the distance.
Next up, we've got a matchup in the featherweight division between two veterans of the sport, Andre Fili and Bill Algeo. Bill Algeo plus 110, minus 135 for Andre Fili. Andre Fili 1-2 with 1 no contest in his last 4 fights. He is coming off that 41-second loss against Joe Anderson Brito back in February. Now, the things that really stick out to me, and this is going to kind of play into the prop bets in terms of this fight, is the fact that for Andre Fili, 5 of his last 6 wins have come via decision. prior to Bill Algeo's last win, his previous 6 fights have went the distance. And Andre Fili is a veteran of the sport. And when you look at his losses in the UFC, I mean, they're against the top of this UFC featherweight division. Just to give you some names: Max Holloway, Yair Rodrigues, Calvin Kattar, Sadiq Youssef, Bryce Mitchell. It's the top of this division. Like, as I look at how I think this fight could go from the Andre Fili side of the equation, Pete, it's about utilizing takedowns, taking this fight to the ground. On the Bill Algeo side of the equation, it's about keeping this fight on the feet and the volume. That's why, in terms of the betting side of this fight, I'm looking at a decision prop on both of these guys. I think this is a very close fight. This is like a 55-45 type situation for me. Andre Fili via decision plus 150, Bill Algeo via decision plus 175. That's where I would want to attack this fight from a betting side.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic fight. I can't wait to watch it. And whether it's on the feet or in wrestling scrambles or whatever, I think that it's going to be exciting. And I think both of these fighters are going to have their moments. Who has been the better fighter in their past 5 fights? Well, surprisingly, it's Bill Algeo. I mean, he really has been finding some success under the UFC banner. And Andre Fili has kind of hit like a roadblock within his career. He's at his career worst as far as, on paper. I don't think that the skills have necessarily diminished, but I mean, he has faced some tough competition, getting knocked out against Joe Anderson Brito, the accidental eye poke against Daniel Pineda, the decision defeat to Bryce Mitchell, the split decision over Charles Jourdain, and then the unanimous decision defeat to Sadiq Youssef. So it's like, man, he's always facing tough competition. And I think that if you look at his resume, he's fought some pretty big names. Bill Algeo has actually been having some success, and his Achilles heel in every matchup is just getting taken down. He works back to his feet because he has tremendous kickboxing and he has good pace and pressure. But despite being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, he gets taken down and he has to constantly work his way back up. So styles make fights. Despite Andre Fili, struggling, I actually think that Fili can blend things pretty well here. And as long as durability checks out, I might ever so slightly give him the edge. So I actually think the odds are correct. I don't hate the Bill Algeo underdog call. I actually think the fight does go the distance. So targeting the decision props for both of the fighters is probably the best path, as you mentioned. If you just want to kind of, instead of picking one side or another, if you think the fight just goes to a decision, it sits at minus 200. I'm okay with that. Like, I really am. You're not going to get great plus money all the time. Sometimes it's okay to just, eat a little chalk. Minus 200 seems fine. And kind of just sit back and enjoy the fight. If somebody was going to get a finish, I would probably say Bill Algeo finishes Andre Fili. But I actually think that 7 to 8 times out of 10, this fight goes the distance.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fight that I completely expect to go the distance here. That's why I want to target those decision props here. Of course, myself and Pete, we want to get your fight pick, so post a correct fight pick in the chat below, and you can win a free week of our premium betting picks package. We'll select one random winner who correctly predicts the winner of any fight on this fight card, so good luck. All you got to do is post that pick there in the comment section below. Want to hear what your best bet is for UFC Vegas number 60. Now we move over to the co-main event of the fight card, and this one has got banger written all over it. We got Njokuani, who is minus 130. Greg Rodrigues plus 105. Of course, Njokuani, since exiting Bellator, has been on an absolute roll. He's won 4 in a row. His last 2 wins have come in the UFC. Both of those wins are in the first round. Gregor Rodrigues 3-1 in the UFC. He is coming off a loss against Petrosian back there in, he has only lost in the UFC coming against Petrosian, coming off a first round victory earlier this year against Julian Marquez. And to me, this fight for the Gregory Rodrigues side of the equation, Pete, is potential takedown upside. We all know there's a reason Chidi is called Bang Bang. Him and his brother, they are about the Muay Thai. So to me, the potential takedown upside, if you look at Gregory Rodrigues in the UFC, if you go his matchup against Dusko Todorovic, he scored 3 takedowns. Against Park, he scored 2. Against Petrosian, he scored 2. And when Njokuani took on Dusko Todorovic, which was a late first round victory, Dusko was 2 of 7 in takedowns.
Yeah. So what comes first in this matchup? Does Rodrigues land a takedown, or does Njokuani land a big shot? I think that Rodrigues has fallen in love with his hands, which is always dangerous coming from a grappling background. It's great when they're rounding out their skill set and they're improving and they're developing, but you also want to get back to your roots of what brought you to the dance. And the longer he stays standing, the longer Njokuani has a chance to knock him out, truthfully. So, like, if you told me Gregory Rodrigues goes out there with a grappling game plan from minute 1 to minute 15, I'm picking Gregory Rodrigues. So, with that being said, I'm going to be sprinkling Rodrigues to win by submission, sitting there at plus 450. Naturally, anytime he fights, his submission acumen is at the top of the food chain. So, like, I really think he's so skilled. The issue with that and how I project this fight to go is I actually think he just gets hit too often. I think he gets hit way too easy. And I think he's easy to be hit. So, like, his head is there, man. Like, his head movement, he's on that center line all the time. And I think the skill set of Chidi and Njokuani can actually invite him into a striking battle. And I think Chidi's going to knock him out. I really do. I don't foresee this fight going the distance. If it does, I would be very, very surprised, because even the under 2.5 is juiced, because everybody's expecting a finish one way or another.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to side with the striker and Chidi and Njokuani to win by TKO KO, sitting at plus 200. It wouldn't be a large unit stand for me. It would probably be where I'm playing both sides best, based on how I see their paths to victory. So Chidi via TKO KO, Rodrigues via submission. Outside of that, I probably have no interest in targeting the under.
Look, I don't like putting props in parlays for the most part, but like if you wanted to maybe throw in a parlay that under 2.5 rounds, I feel really confident on that one. I would be relatively surprised if this thing goes over 2.5 rounds. We mentioned about Joe Pyfer. I mean, I think inside the distance prop on him, even if you wanted to take the under 2.5 rounds on that fight as well. I mean, I don't love putting props in parlays, but I can see definitely a reason why you would do that there. Then of course our main event is a key matchup in the bantamweight division. We got Corey Sandhagen minus 190 taking on Song Yadong. He is plus 155. Corey Sandhagen, of course, when I think of Corey Sandhagen, I think about the frame that he does have. He does have a 3-inch reach advantage in this one. It is the first fight for Corey Sandhagen in 11 months. He's lost back-to-back fights against TJ Dillashaw and Peter Yan. Both those fights were decision losses. For Song, he has won 3 in a row, and he did have a stretch of 5 straight decisions in the UFC from 2018 to 2021. One of my questions with Song Yadong in terms of this fight is what happens if it hits the 4th and 5th round? Can he keep up with the volume that Corey Sandhagen does bring?
Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic fight. I mean, on any given day, I could see Song Yadong upsetting Corey Sandhagen. That's just how the division is, and that's just how fighting is, right? Like, on that night, you have to bring your A game, and that's why upsets happen so frequently. Especially when you're talking about the number 2, number 3 guy, or whatever these guys are ranked. Sandhagen is fantastic. Same with Song Yadong. Obviously, Sandhagen, I have a little bit more faith in his skill set because of his strength of schedule. Whereas Song Yadong, I feel like he's not green, because I can't put that label against him, but he's not as polished, if we want to say that. He's not as polished as Corey Sandhagen, because he hasn't had to be pushed to the brink of defeat, time and time again. Yes, of course, he lost to Kyler Phillips, but I'm saying, like, when you really get up against that upper echelon of fighters, the TJ Dillashaw, the Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling, like, it's a different level. And I think that the skills are there for Song Yadong, but I think he can be beaten. Kyler Phillips is not a slouch. I'm actually pretty high on Kyler Phillips. I think that he'll be in the top 10 eventually. And I really think that Corey Sandhagen's going to have Song Yadong's number. Now, I probably won't bet this fight, if I'm being honest, just because the lines seem to be right on par, unless I'm missing something. I think, like, it's kind of right where I project it to be. And, main events, you're talking about some of the best in the world and 5-round fights, and how do either one of these fighters respond. I think Corey Sandhagen's going to, do well in the striking. I'm worried about him getting hit with a big right hand of Song Yadong. So I actually think Corey Sandhagen's going to incorporate some takedowns. I think that's honestly going to be a sneaky strategy for him. I don't think that Song Yadong has a bad ground game. I just think it's like, why not solidify rounds if you can, man? Like, solidify rounds. You got some sneaky jiu-jitsu and some sneaky takedowns. So I think it's going to be a complete Corey Sandhagen performance, but I wonder if you agree with me or disagree.
I agree with you. I like Corey Sandhagen in this spot. I do think it's probably going to go 25 minutes, so that Sandhagen via decision prop plus 100. But one of the interesting things when you're breaking down a fight card, we go down that Instagram rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Did you notice who Corey Sandhagen's been working with?
I honestly I didn't do the Instagram rabbit hole this time.
Ryan Hall.
I tell you, bro. Yeah, Ryan Hall's a beast. So I mean, so would you rather take a decision at plus 100? Right? Like, well, there's really no meat on the bone there, right?
Yeah.
Or if you just target the money line at minus 190, because 25 minutes is a very, very long time to stay perfect. And one mistake, a little stupid heel hook, you know what I mean? Like, it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I might put in terms of the prop bets in terms of Corey Sandhagen, I might be trying to maybe look at like an under 4.5 rounds, which is, around that plus 130 mark. I think it is if you wanted to maybe he lands that flying knee, which we've seen him land before. Maybe that'd be a way to kind of target if you're looking for prop bets, if you want to try to get some plus money.
It's crazy. I feel like Vegas is always the most accurate with the main event. And then there's selective spots on the rest of the card. I'm looking at everything for this main event right now, and I'm like, I think they did a pretty damn good job at putting the lines out there. I have to be honest.
Now, as we look at the preliminary card, I know there is one bet that is really sticking out to you.
It's my boy. It is my boy, Pat Sabatini. And it's not really anything against his opponent, Damon Jackson. I know the team pretty well. I know that the head coach, Daniel Gracie, pretty well. He's extremely close with my jiu-jitsu coach out of Renzo Gracie, Rhode Island. So Renzo Gracie, Fili, they are fantastic, man. Like, they really are. These Fili fighters just bring it. So I know the dynamic that Pat Sabatini brings to the table. Strong offensive wrestling, phenomenal pressure. And the pressure is kind of similar to like Khabib Nurmagomedov, his top pressure. Obviously, Khabib's in a category of his own. But when I'm telling you about chain wrestling into pressure, I see some similarities between Pat Sabatini. I have to be honest. I think that, minus 190 for Pat Sabatini makes a ton of sense. And I don't think he's going to get caught in a silly submission. My only worry every time Pat Sabatini fights is just getting caught on the feet, because I don't think that his striking is nearly as polished as his grappling. Naturally, you're going to have strengths and weaknesses, but I don't think that Damon Jackson's the guy. We have seen Damon Jackson throw some good hand combinations and hurt people in the past, but I just think that the pace and pressure could look like Colby Covington out there. Like, Pat Sabatini is going to look pretty dominant. And if he doesn't, I could still bank on him winning 2 rounds.
Damon Jackson is part of the Team Floyd.
Is he your boy?
He's my guy, man. He's my guy. Man. Now look, you gotta love where he trains out of Fortis MMA. But the one thing that you kind of mentioned about Pat Sabatini, when you look at when he has lost, it's where he's been caught on the feet. Yeah. So you gotta imagine that's something that Fortis team has been looking at there. This is one of those fights. I think it's going to go 15 minutes. I would be more trying to target either an over 2.5 or a decision prop on this fight, just because I think it's going to go 15 minutes. In terms of some of the other preliminary fights, Pete, that stick out to me. We can kind of just go down the line, just quickly hit on these. Aspen Ladd and Sarah McMann. Aspen Ladd at minus 145 betting favorite. Sarah McMann plus 120. Sarah McMann not training at Team Alpha Male anymore. She's kind of doing her own thing. I want to see what does Aspen Ladd look on the weigh-ins before kind of taking really a stance on this one. Things have not gone well for Aspen Ladd here. She's dropped 2 straight, 3 of 4. But I do want to see what she looks like on the scale there. Trevin Giles and Louis Cosce. Cosce, first fight in 2+ years, nearly 2 years for him. Of course, his brother's coming off a win earlier on this year. He was supposed to fight back in April. Long layoff. I really try to stay away from fighters there with a long layoff.
Yeah, I'm really selective with my picks as far as, building parlays and all of that. I think that Loma Lupimi is going to have a pretty good performance. Outside of that, I see volatility, right? Like I've seen question marks on both sides, question marks on Aspen, Sarah McMann, Cosce, Giles. Jillian Robertson, Agapova. It's crazy. Van Camp, Mata. Like, it's kind of like pick your poison. So I will be extremely selective. I really don't think the Giles and Cosce fight goes the distance. So when I see this under 2.5 sitting at about minus 140, I might sprinkle a little bit there just because Trevin Giles has been knocked out back-to-back fights. Louis Cosce, questionable gas tank. And I do think that Trevin Giles is a significant step up of competition. But, I honestly, like, sometimes you find some good leverage on the preliminary card. I actually think that there's, a better path for all of us bettors out there on the main card this week. So be careful with your money, selective picks. And I'll basically be sticking to the main card.
Quick turnaround here for Denise Gomes coming off a win last month on the Contender Series. Luke Boomy, all of her fights in the UFC have gone the distance. So kind of think about there. Agapova and Robertson, they were actually former training partners at American Top Team. Robertson, one of her coaches is Dean Thomas. I was listening to an interview Dean gave this week. He talked about, he says, we know what to expect from Agapova. I mean, one of the things to me, when we have two fighters that have trained together, I do sometimes wonder, could we have a little bit of a sparring session there? But hey, Jillian Robertson, armbar from card, is live with her at any moment there. Tony Gravely at plus money, I think is kind of interesting against Javid. I mean, Javid, obviously people are talking about him and his brother this week, but Tony Gravely at plus 1 money. And I think Nicholas Mata is a kind of a showcase fight there against Cameron Van Camp. So I do like that minus 200 money line there.
I'll tell you what, the under 2.5 in that fight is pretty crazy. It's only at minus 180, minus 175. So it's like, I think somebody's getting knocked out. I really do. And Cameron Van Camp looked pretty good early. And then Andre Fiallo just flattened him with a beautiful left hook. And Nicholas Mata, guy I picked to beat Jim Miller, and did not do so. So both these guys looking to turn it around. And I think it's going to be a violent fight and one that does not go the distance.
This is just one of those fight cards where I kind of feel like it's going to be a crazy fight card with a ton of finishes. That's just the way I look at it. Of course, when you want to make a bet on the fights, be sure to place the bet over at BetMGM. They've got a great offer for Takedown City viewers. Bet $10, win $200 with BetMGM if any team scores a touchdown. Click the link in the video description below to claim your free $200 now. And of course, also you want to get your best bets, leave those in the chat, as you could win a free week of our premium betting picks package, as we'll select one random winner. Pete, anything you want to leave the viewers with before we get out of here on this episode?
No, I just good luck. And I'm excited, especially for the main card. The undercard's going to be crazy and it's going to be violent, so I might be just blindly smashing the unders. But as far as the main card and outside of Pat Sabatini, I cannot wait.
Of course, early start time on Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time for the prelims, main card at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Appreciate everyone tuning in for this episode, Takedown City. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button, and we'll be back in 2 weeks for the next UFC Fight Night card.